This happened around Valentine's Day a few years ago. At the time, I worked at a local food store, and I was staying in a small house with a roommate. We'd known each other for a while, and I felt safe living with him, despite being a single woman. On a random day at work, the store was slow, so I was just minding my business at the register when this middle-aged guy walked in. He scanned the room almost like he was lost, unsure of what kind of store he was in. But then he found me, and his empty face lit up with a sudden dumb smile. Reflexively, I smiled back, putting on my customer service voice and greeting him like any other person.
Hello. Looking for anything in particular?
Oh, I think you know.
Well, I'm not a mind reader, but we got hot food, cold drinks, cigarettes, you name it.
Alright then. You.
Excuse me?
You said name what I want, and I want you.
Oh, you know, we don't sell people.
You know, I like a woman with a sense of humor. How about I get your number instead?
How about you buy a lottery ticket? Will those digits work?
That'll do. For now.
In the beginning, I didn't think much of this guy. Unfortunately, this man, whose name I learned was Damien, went beyond flirtation into full-blown obsession. Instead of coming in 2 or 3 times a week like a typical regular who had a crush on me, Damien came in every single day, usually more than once. Each day, he would try to get at me in different ways, starting with cheesy pickup lines and cheap gifts from the drugstore across the street. But his attempts became dirtier, creepier, and wilder. And then came February. Every single time he showed up, he told me how many days there were left until Valentine's Day. By this point, I was really starting to hate him, and on February 14th, I was finally done. A few hours before my shift ended on Valentine's Day, Damien came in and sulked around the store for a bit. When he came up to the register, he put a pack of condoms on the counter, then stared at me saying,
I'm really excited for tonight.
Oh yeah? Why's that?
I have my bedroom set up for a very special date. I've got wine, chocolate, Plan B, and fresh bed sheets to soil. But I was wondering, can you give me these for free?
And why the hell would I do that, Damien?
Well, because they're going to be inside you later.
You know what? I'm done. Get out!
What?
I said get the hell out of my store before I call the cops!
Fine. Raw it is.
After one final sickening remark, Damien left. For the rest of my shift, I tried to not let the whole encounter bother me. When it was time for me to go home, I was paranoid just to walk to my car, thinking he could be waiting for me outside the store. I then made it to my car and locked the doors immediately. That put me at ease. I wasn't concerned about him at all on my drive home, nor was I worried about the walk from my car to the front door of my house. I lingered in the foyer as I slipped off my shoes and put my keys up on the hook, calling out to my roommate to see if he was home. It was Damien. He ran inside my home and held a knife to my stomach. I couldn't even react.
Happy Valentine's Day, sweetie.
Please get out of my house. I'm not alone.
Bullshit. I've waited here all day. I know you're lying.
Help! He's got a knife!
You bitch!
The moment he stabbed me, my body froze from utter shock. I couldn't breathe or move. I was stuck standing there, looking at his face of pure evil and hate as he stabbed me again and again. Finally, I heard my roommate's voice. He was shouting, but he sounded like he was miles away. He managed to scare off Damien, then he locked the door. When he looked over at me, reality finally caught up, and I collapsed. My roommate stayed with me and called 911. He kept telling me to stay awake to keep me from passing out. I focused on the pain of him pressing his body weight into my abdomen to slow the bleeding. At last, the ambulance came. With a drip of morphine and a bag of blood, they told me everything would be alright. I'm lucky to be able to say they were telling the truth. I recovered, albeit with a chunk of PTSD to work through. Thanks to the help from my community, Damien was arrested. I'm immensely grateful to them, and most of all to my roommate. Had he not been home, Had he not acted in my defense, something far worse could have happened to me. If not for him, I might not even be alive. A customer who frequented a store in Connecticut stalked an employee before stabbing her 7 times on Valentine's Day. Damian Davis, 35, is charged with assault, home invasion, burglary, and stalking. The victim is alive but injured. According to the documents, Davis was known to frequent Sam's food store in Manchester where the victim worked. On the evening of the stabbing, surveillance camera captured Davis crouching near basement doors outside of the victim's home. He was described as wearing a complicated hooded face mask. When the victim came home shortly after 7 p.m., Davis opened the door and went inside after her. A nearby Ring camera recorded screams from the victim. A few seconds later, Davis is seen fleeing the home. The victim's cousin, who was also in the home, reported witnessing the suspect stab the victim in the stomach. Prior to the incident, Davis hung out at a smoke shop telling others he was dating the victim. A witness there said Davis made a lot of inappropriate lewd remarks about the victim. Following the stabbing, from her hospital bed, the victim told her mother that she knew who her attacker was because he had come into the store earlier that day. Police tracked Davis down and arrested him. Davis told police where he ditched the knife, and also admitted to slashing tires in the victim's driveway in a previous incident.
Miss you. I miss you.
Last Valentine's Day, I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with my girlfriend and my brother. He and I originally leased the place about 3 years back. My girlfriend had recently moved in and was obviously staying in my room. We had tentative plans to move out and get our own place one day, but living with my brother was very affordable, and as far as roommate situations go, mostly stress-free. For instance, he never got in the way of our couple time, as he called it. If we wanted to do something together like hog the living room for a night, he would just chill in his room or go out with his friends. When Valentine's Day came around, it was the same. I convinced my girlfriend that instead of going to some crowded overpriced restaurant, we should just cook something at home. I asked my brother if he wanted us to make him a portion, but he said he was content with staying in his room and letting us do our thing. The last thing he wanted was to third wheel. So, my girlfriend and I began our night. Everything was going great. We started cooking, and it honestly felt like my brother almost didn't even live there. My girl and I got tipsy on wine and whipped up a super fancy meal that took us forever to make. We ate across from each other on the little dining room table, and when we were finished, we started to clean up and load the dishwasher, hoping it wouldn't take too long, because we wanted to lay down on the couch and get on with the rest of the night, if you know what I mean. By then, it was almost midnight. We were still in the middle of putting things away when my brother finally came out of his room for the first time in a while. He saw that we were busy, and not getting busy, so he poked his head in for a second. He said he was heading to the liquor store and asked if we wanted him to pick something up for us, but we still had a whole bottle of wine to finish, so we were fine. Then, he nodded and left the kitchen. I was focusing most of my attention on my girlfriend, of course, but I could still hear him walking toward the front door. It opened. But instead of closing it right away, I heard my brother's voice again. He wasn't yelling to us. He was talking to somebody else. It sounded like whoever he was talking to had him nervous or something. Suddenly, the door slammed shut right before 2 men started shouting and screaming. I looked in that direction just as my brother came back into the kitchen. The 2 men were behind him holding guns to his head and at us. It happened in an instant. I didn't have any time to prepare. None of us did. So we all just tried to do what they said in the hopes they would let us go.
Hands up! Don't move!
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to let him in.
Shut up! Don't talk to them!
Please, just take whatever you want. Just don't hurt us.
Trust me, we will. Now get down! I said get down!
Okay.
Except you.
Who? Me?
Who else, bitch? Go in that room and lie on the bed.
Oh God, no!
Get in there or die right here! Your choice! My boy here will watch over these bums while I take care of you.
Get away! Don't touch me! No!
We were forced to listen to it every single second, however long it went on. It must have felt like an eternity for her. When it was done, the door opened and he threw her out onto the kitchen floor with us, now stripped of all her clothes. Yet he still wasn't finished. He ordered me and my brother to take off our clothes as well. Then he began whipping us with belts mercilessly. His accomplice took his time to ransack our apartment and steal every valuable thing we had, but that was the least of our misery. The accomplice, as evil as he must have been to witness what was happening and not say a word, seemed to only be in it for the money. The bastard who gave the orders, however, he was a sick, demented scumbag whose only clear desire was to torture us. After the men left and that hour in hell was finally finished, we picked up the pieces and called 911. I knew my girlfriend would never be the same. She wouldn't speak. She just tried to cover herself, refusing to move or look at anyone. Days later, the man who beat us and forced himself onto my girlfriend was arrested. His accomplice was never found, and he never gave him up either. Without a plea deal for snitching, he was sentenced to rot in prison for 20 years. That's nothing compared to what he did, if you ask me. He wrecked our lives. He destroyed my girlfriend's life most of all. It's nearly been a year since that horrible night. I'll never forget how such a perfect Valentine's Day evening turned into hell on earth in a matter of seconds. This story was inspired by a disturbing Valentine's Day incident regarding a man who police said broke into a Dover apartment, burglarized it, and forced himself on a resident. Monty Wilson, 26, has pleaded guilty for the Valentine's Day crimes and will now spend 2 decades in jail. Surveillance video showed that the home invasion occurred around 1 a.m. A resident was leaving the apartment when 2 armed men he didn't know forced their way into his apartment. He was punched multiple times in the back of the head. The man was then taken into the bedroom with a female victim before a 3rd resident was forced into the room. The 2 male victims were made to lay face down on the floor and the female forced to lay on the bed. The invaders then ransacked the house, stealing electronics, jewelry, wallets, phones, and bank cards. Wilson then took the woman into the living room and did what he did. Wilson also had 2 of the residents stripped naked and whip their backs with a belt. Wilson's accomplice was never identified. Allegedly, an associate of Wilson sent him Instagram pictures of the victims and his residence, saying they were easy licks, a reference to robberies.
Miss you. I miss you.
I should have known my marriage was doomed from the start. My husband David was a very successful and attractive man, but he had already been married once before. He even had a daughter with the previous woman. The reason he gave for their divorce was always rather vague, though he always painted her as the villain. Sure, I had my suspicions, but I was naive enough to believe nothing like that would ever happen between us. I accepted his daughter as my own, and in time, we had twins together. After some time, we started a business together and opened several new locations together. The 2 of us were unstoppable. Sadly, paradise did not last. It decayed gradually at first, almost so slowly that it was unnoticeable. We both started to spend more time at work, but always at different locations. I told myself we were just working hard in those times so we could take it easy in the future, but then our home life began to suffer as well. When David and I were alone together, he would barely touch me or look at me. At night, he fell asleep the moment he laid in bed, leaving me wide awake, feeling alone and forgotten. Then, one night, I noticed he started smelling funny, like a musty and sweaty smell. I confronted him about it, but he would just say he was at the gym. That's when I knew something wasn't right. I knew he had to have been cheating on me, and he knew I wanted a divorce because of it. I wanted to take my sons and every penny he had, yet a divorce without clear cause would grant me next to nothing. I had to prove he was cheating, though with how busy I was, I could not do it on my own. That's when I hired a private investigator. The timing was perfect. Valentine's Day was coming up. Either David would have to bring the world to his knees and beg me to forgive him, or he would be planning something special for his mistress. Sure enough, it only took a few days for the private investigator to find out what David was up to. He had been sleeping with one of our receptionists, but what truly made my blood boil was where he was taking her. It was the exact same hotel we got married in. I couldn't take it any longer. The private investigator told me to wait for him to collect more evidence, but I was through. I had to confront that bastard right there and then. I drove the nice fancy car he bought me to the hotel that very night, when I found him in the lobby drinking with his little home-wrecking slut, so I let him have it.
You piece of shit! I knew it! You've been lying to me!
What? Who the hell are you? Excuse me, is everything all right over here?
No! Everything is far from all right! That man is cheating on me!
This is your husband? No, I'm not. I've never met this woman in my life. She just came up and started screaming at me.
Oh, that's bullshit! We were married here!
Ma'am, please come with me.
You asshole! You'll regret this! I'll take everything you have! You'll be nothing without me! You hear me? Nothing!
Despite my unbridled rage, I was not strong enough to fight the men that dragged me out of the lobby. Of course, I knew they had been fed a string of lies by my husband, and it wasn't their fault they didn't understand what was going on. So I did my best not to take my anger out on them. Luckily, I didn't have to restrain myself for long. Once they got me back inside of my car, they thought their job was done, so they left and went back inside. I stayed there for a minute or two, just trying to cool off before driving away. But then I saw him, David. He had the gall to come out to the parking lot to talk to me, as if there was anything he could do that would help. Actually, there was one thing he did that I liked. He stood directly in front of my car, trying to keep me from leaving. I couldn't resist that golden opportunity, his final gift to me. I put my car in drive and floored it. The engine roared and the tires spun as I rocketed toward him. His two-timing body crashed onto the hood and crushed the windshield. It rolled over the roof and tumbled onto the ground behind me, before I finally slammed on the brakes in shock. I did it. I really did it. I ran him over. Then, I looked into my rearview mirror and noticed he didn't seem to be getting up. Another gift from the universe. On July 24, 2002, Clara Harris, 60, killed her husband, 44-year-old orthodontist David Harris, after she found him with his alleged mistress, Gail Bridges. The private investigator Clara Harris hired to follow her husband videotaped the incident, which showed her striking him repeatedly with her Mercedes-Benz in the parking lot of a Houston hotel, the same one the couple had married in on Valentine's Day 1992. The first impact sent David Harris flying 25 feet. Then, Clara Harris crossed two grassy medians and ran over her husband 3 more times before she put the car in reverse and backed over his body, leaving the car parked on top of him. David Harris later died of his injuries. The day in February 2003 when Clara Harris was sentenced to 20 years in prison for murdering her husband would have been their 11th anniversary.